was a sinner's prayer there, and then I prayed that prayer. So I got saved. I was alone with the Bible, with that Bible when I got saved. And then now there was a challenge now to say, okay, now that I'm saved, how do I find that family that aligns to this? So my greatest desire, when you are still a new born-again Christian,
on fire.
The greatest desire for me was for Jesus to come back. Because the way I used to enjoy church and God's presence, I used to experience, which I find for myself in particular, was that you spend more time on the skill that the company has hired you for. And then the other skills, the other gifts and the other talents that God has given to you, they remain unused. You've made me to come and study. I want to go and implement what I've studied. I cannot just study and then
for mahala
and then not use that, go to ministry. And he said, do you know that you have a calling? And people who have a calling never rise to become CEOs. So you are wasting your time with that career plan. You need to go into ministry. So if you don't go through the mess, you don't have the message for your audience.
Hence, he is here. I just want to declare strength upon those that are going through any form of suffering, any form of hurt, that you will come out, and because somebody is waiting to hear your testimony, and that you will relate with someone and carry them through their journey as you are also going through it, and you will come out of it. Good day to our lovely viewers and audiences. Today, I just want to welcome you to It Is My Truth with Mpho and Lindy. We just want to welcome you today, and we've got a special guest. I actually am the host of the day with my special guest. I want to give you just a few nuggets of introducing him accordingly. I remember I kept on saying, can you just send me your profile? Because he is loaded with wisdom. He is loaded with a journey that is just so amazing. I just want to take you through introducing my guest today as I go through his profile. Just listen carefully. So today we've got Reverend Mpho Ngomezulu. He's a pastor in Diepkloof Baptist Church, volunteer chaplain, Ikusasa Secondary School and Makatini Clinic, executive member of Tembisa Transformation Forum, Secretary General, Ekurhuleni North, FBO, Baptist Convention of South Africa, Treasurer General, Ward Committee Member, Ward 91, Speaker, Consultant, and Author. What shall we say to that? Hey, so welcome, Pastor Mpho, and we just want to take this time to really appreciate you coming over to our lovely home to come and share with our family out there your testimony, your journey of life, and we really appreciate. Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much, Mpho, and greetings to all the viewers. And greetings to Lindy as well. Thank you for the invitation to come and be part of this platform.
Thank you very much. Just to break the ice, tell our viewers one thing that they don't know about you.
That's a tricky one. One thing that they don't know about me.
That is so interesting.
I'm an open book. So what you see is what you get. Yes, so there's nothing that they don't know about me.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. Now getting on with the business of today. Pastor Mpho, I just want you to take us through your background, your family setup, how you actually grew up, as a young person.
Okay, family background. I'm from a family of 5 siblings. I'm number 3. Yes, and those siblings is 2 boys and 3 girls. Yes, I was born in Tembisa, Tembisa Hospital. I think that's basically it in the early stages of the background regarding the birth. So I'm not sure if I should go to others or we'll find that when as we go along.
So yes, in terms of the kind of a child you were as you were growing up.
Okay, as I was growing up, actually I remember that I used to love reading. I love reading.
Hence the author.
I loved writing, and interestingly enough, when it comes to writing, I knew how to write before going to any form of schooling. I used to have a cousin who would every now and then play school with us, so that's where I learned how to write. And then I used to love sports. Yeah, so I used to play soccer as well when I was young. Your under 11, your under 12s, and all of that. So I did play sports as well. Yeah.
All right. So actually, I really want to link your love of reading as you were growing up with now being an author. So there's some things that actually gets you can see them, we can trace them from being at a young age, that okay, this is the fruit of something that took place long time ago, the seed was sown long back, and some people, we get so surprised when others become certain things that we are not aware of, or we actually did not imagine, but that thing has actually been there, for a long time. Thank you very much. So in terms of your high school life, how was that? How was you at high school? I mean, teenagers, we can be naughty. Teenagers, we can really, get into so much mischief, because we think we know it all. So how was your high school life and all the journey of your high school time?
Just to add in the thought that you had raised about some of the things that you do when you are young, and then they also do show up when you are old. When it comes to writing, I even remember that you remember that, especially in primary school, when the schools are closed at the end of November, you'll find that there are books which are still empty. Maybe it's a book where you're writing tests and you only wrote 4 tests, and then the remainder of the book is still clean. During December, I will write all those books, and then by the time the new year starts, my old books are full, the way I used to enjoy writing.
So you were not like us. What we would do is more tests. We will take out the papers, because there is still more clean papers that we can use for the next year. But it was so different with you. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes. And then in terms of teenage life, yes, I had experienced the grace of God, because the adolescence problems that show up, which are as part of growth and development, and I did not experience that.
Say what?
I think also maybe part of it is because I met the Lord at a very young age. So when the stage started, or at the beginning of the stage, I was already conscious about what is wrong and what is right, what to do, what not to do, what habits to develop and what habits not to develop, and also maybe that environment of church and of having Christians around, and then it assists you to navigate through the teenage stage of life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
that's the grace that I had.
So basically, ukulele esontweni.
Yes.
And your father, your mother, your parents were actually people that were going to church or taking you to church.
Interesting thing with church for me is in our family, we're very open. One, in terms of different persuasions of religions and different churches. So during my younger years, the dominant one was the St. John's Apostolic Church. Out of my own hunger for church, I took myself, I joined those who were going to say I will go. Then I went there once, and then it was unfortunate that day. I think there was something, it was the whole day, so I came back tired and then hungry, and I was like, no, I'm not going back there. Yeah, and then I found another one because I was sensitive with time. I found another one which was closer to home. It took only 1 hour, so that was best for me because it also allowed me time to go and play soccer as well, as I was starting to play for a soccer team. Yeah, so I was exposed to church at an early age. That's the church part, but also the consciousness in terms of the spiritual disciplines. My grandmother, when we were young, played a very big role there, in a sense that every day, in Zulu we call it Nkatune, every evening she would take the Bible, open it, put the fingers there, and she will ask us to read for her. So every day I used to read the Bible for her, and then every day she will pray. So I got exposed to prayer, and I got exposed to this concept that the Bible must be read at a very early age.
Wow.
So it was just even beyond church.
Yes, even the homestead as well. So you spoke about the grace that you found of knowing the Lord at a very young age. Was it through school? Was it a movement? Was it because church? I realized that. Yeah. So how was your interaction with maybe that part of you now getting to desire more of God and being at a place whereby you are now not able to do all these other things that young people do?
Yeah, I think maybe to start it a little bit back to say that now on hindsight, I realize that there's those activities that my grandmother used to make us to do of reading the word for her and also praying. At one point, she said, today everyone is going to pray, and we're like, because we're young, like, no, we don't know how to pray, what should we say? Say, no, you just open your mouth, words will come out. Then from that discipline, from grade 3, if I remember very well, up to today, I've never written a test without prayer. Even before me knowing the Lord or having a relationship with God or committing my life to God, I already adopted that discipline of prayer to say, if I'm going to do something significant, I need to pray. Even when we had a game of soccer, before the game starts, I will pray that God, can I have a good game? So I think those seeds then began to grow, that at some point, when I was starting my teenage years, I started feeling hunger for God. It was not something that is initiated by a church or by a sermon. It just generated from inside. And I started having these questions to say, actually, what does God want from us? If God will say, you are a good person, you are his child, what is the requirement to be part of all of that? Now, the problem then they started with now going to church, having these questions, and then coming to church, those questions not answered. You know? And also that thirst for God, and then you'll go to church and then that thirst is not filled, because you have to start by having a relationship with God first, and then that thirst then of his presence and a desire will then be met. So yes, that is that in terms of the interaction with God leading to my teenage years was more of something that God did directly, that was coming from the inside. That is why I even went to church after properly, with understanding, after I had already been born again.
So where did you get born again? Was there a movement somewhere that you joined?
Okay. Yeah, the getting born again, I would also want to mix it with your previous question in terms of the movements and school and church. When I got born again, as I said that I had these questions, and then I could not get the answers to these questions, even when I go to church or go to some activities. Until I read that in olden days there were Bibles that were distributed to schools, to hospitals by the organization called
Gideon's, the small ones.
The small ones, the New Testament. Yes. So one day I'm sitting at home, and then I'm reading that at the back, and then I see that they've written about God's plan of salvation. And then I start reading. I'm like, these are the answers that I've been yearning for, that I've been looking for. They are written all there. And then as I get the understanding as I'm reading, then there was a sinner's prayer there, and then I prayed that prayer. So I got saved. I was alone with the Bible, with that Bible when I got saved. And then now there was a challenge now to say, okay, now that I'm saved, how do I find that family that aligns to this? So I continued with the previous church for a couple of months or weeks, but I was sensing that whatever was happening there and the teachings and everything was not linking to this new experience that you had. So I was actually looking for a church that fits this new experience. Then at school there was what was called the Student Christian Movement.
SCM.
SCM, yes.
We are old.
Now I think they have changed the name. In other institutions they call it an SCO. So we used to have an SCM, and then luckily enough in the SCM, my class teacher for standard 5 with grade 7. My class teacher for grade 7 was part of the leaders of the Student Christian Movement, and also my Zulu teacher was also part of the Student Christian Movement. So we started attending that every Monday. They used to have it every Monday, and then it linked so well with this new experience. Then I started to say, actually I was asking someone to say, hey, it will be nice if there was a church that is like the Student Christian Movement. And they're like, no, there are churches like that. I'm like, what are those churches? Then that's when I got to learn about your AFM, your Assemblies of God, because you will point and say, you see that one is from Assemblies of God, that one is from AFM, that one is from Maranatha. Then that's why I started to begin to know that, oh, there are these types of churches.
Oh, okay. So in SCM, what was, tell our kids, children right now, they don't have any idea. I mean, prayers at schools have been stopped. So at those time, what are they missing out? There are some things that took place, man, within the meetings of the SCM that our children right now they are missing out on. What used to happen?
Our SCM in particular, I'll start with the general that maybe might happen in other SCMs, and as I go along, include some particular things specifically for ours. SCM generally it's like your church service on a Sunday, by and large, but the students only and the teachers. Students, you have one day a week where you meet and you fellowship together, praise the Lord, worship the Lord, and pray together. And then in addition to that, we will also host events. Yes, like your weekend revivals. Our SCM used to do that with the help of the teachers, and also our specific one we were lucky because one of our teachers was from KZN. So he used to love this program that was in Ukozi FM, which is Unkulunkulu Nomtomusha. So we will also, as SCM, attend organized trips to attend those sessions and partner with Unkulunkulu Nomtomusha. So we'll actually travel all over the country, attending those events and programs.
Oh yes. So with that being said, the meetings involved the teachers, right? Like your SCM, the teachers were involved in that. So what do you think made, I don't know if I should say the government, but what do you think made this new rule in our lifetime this day that this movement should be stopped? And what's your take on that?
My analysis, as I also work with schools even now, is that at that time, teachers were not worried or scared because of the legislation to say that if I do this or participate in SCM, then the government might view me as if I'm propagating for one religion and disadvantaging others. Although in my interactions with the schools, there is nothing that is stopping that. Okay. It's a perception that is out there, that prayer is no longer wanted in schools, that in some schools SCM are no longer wanted, that teachers cannot assist students with that. The fear is there. Even when you go to schools, teachers are taking a back seat because they fear for their careers, but there's nothing in government that says you'll be criminalized for that. Actually, most of the schools, they invite pastors to come and assist with prayers, especially when you go for exams. They will organize prayers for exams and all of those things. So that platform is still there, but there's this perception that makes people to shy away in occupying that space, in trying to be politically correct. So we're scared of advancing our faith.
So I feel a bit challenged. Are we saying the workers are few? Those that could take it upon themselves to say, I'm going to this school every Wednesday to go and lead prayer or, be at an assembly. So the workers are very few. Are we too busy for that?
The workers are very few, but also there was a wrong messaging.
Oh, yes.
The messaging when the government was saying, we are opening up for all religions at schools. So that was interpreted as if it says we don't want religions at schools. Because the way it was communicated, it was that our black schools, or previously because of our history, is that at schools they only propagate the Christian faith. And then other faiths are not being promoted. So in terms of trying to equalize the space, there was a feeling that the Christian faith is being pushed out. But when you come closer, you will see that actually they are not being pushed out. There's a big need for that. But also there's also sensitivities of saying, what will the parents say? If somebody comes, for instance, prays for the children without the permission of the parents. There's also that fear to say you might need a consent from the parent that you can speak your faith to my child. So those are the things that we need to navigate around. But basically there was a lot of fear, But what I love is that when the Christian faith went out, there were no assemblies, there were no prayers and what. It was the government as well that came back and invited the religious leaders to say, we need pastors.
Okay,
so in Tembisa now we have that program that says every pastor must adopt a school. Yes.
Big up now, with this new information, and I'm sure there are those out there who have been worried and maybe they were captured by the fear, that it's an open thing for us. We can still go out there in the schools and initiate to actually have assembly once a week with the children. It's not a prohibited, it's not a criminal offense. You will not be held arrested for it. So let's go out there and plant those seeds of our children, as we can see that they actually produced good results. Amen. So back to your journey of looking for a church. How was it like after you were told AFM, that, and which one did you go with, and what was it that got you attracted to it?
Okay, yeah. As that brother was telling me to say, pointing the people within the group of SCM to say, that one is from AFM, that one is from Assemblies of God, that one is from Maranatha. And then there were, I think it was there were 3 ladies who were PKs, pastors' kids. Yeah? And they were very committed, and they were the ones who would lead songs, they were the ones who would MC, they were the ones who would drive and push SCM from the students' angle. And then my decision was, I want to follow those ones. I want to see this father who has raised these kids to be like this. I want that person to be my pastor.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was not even a church problem. It was because of what I see.
Their lifestyle.
From the members of the SCM, that influenced my decision to say, whoever has produced these people, I want to be part of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So our lives do speak.
They do
and
speak.
they speak volume.
Volume, quite a lot. Because my decision was simply based on that.
Now you were able to identify, okay, these are the people that I want to partner with, and you actually managed to go to that church and be part of that church.
Yes, I managed to be attend to that church and be part of that church because I was still early in my teenage years. Their Sunday school programs were divided into two. There were the younger ones and there were the older ones. So when I started there, I was into two groups. The Sunday school older ones and also part of the youth, because youth they needed me for the choir part. Yes, we used to have choirs back then. So that's when I started with that church. Yeah.
So you were pastored by the father who was the pastor of the church?
Yes, he was Jacob Mushadiba, Pastor Jacob Mushadiba, and then at some point before his passing, he was now Apostle Jacob Mushadiba.
Okay.
Yes, very great man of God. And it's said that actually he passed on during COVID, and while we were locked, while we were still under strict lockdown, very strict lockdown, family arranged the funeral, because he was also like a father to me. I knew then that actually I was one of his favorites. They had already put me in the program, but I could not come because the country was locked. I even missed his funeral.
Wow. Well, sorry about that. But anyway, you are living this kind of life now because of the seed that he sowed into your life. He's teaching as well. So, Pastor Sipho, I just want to find out in terms of SCM, in terms of maybe going to church, how involved were you and how actively involved should people be after finding the Lord Jesus and finding a church? Should I take a back seat or they should be part of certain activities?
Yes, the way I got involved is when I started that journey with SCM, and then after 3 months of not being absent, that's where sometimes you will be absent once or twice or thrice. After 3 months of not being absent, one of the teachers realized that and said, wow, we're impressed by your commitment and we'd like you to be part of the subcommittees, one of the subcommittees. So I became part of the committee that used to arrange the program. On saying who's going to be the MC. That time we also used to have chorus leaders. There were no worship teams. The chorus leader would just go, one person stand up front, lead choruses. Yes. So we will. Our job was to make sure that every Monday there's a chorus leader, there's an MC, and there's a speaker. Yes. So even now, I'm still very much. I'm still using that quite a lot, because now I'm still involved in events management, where you also have to be involved in drafting the programs, organizing the speakers, setting up identifying the MCs and all of that. So even that started at a young age. In 1992, I'm still doing it even now.
I like saying, make your mistakes in front of the believers, and as you learn these things, you would realize that actually there's a seed that has been sown. Program, you thought we were just doing a program, and it will just end there at school for SCM. But it actually was a seed that will take you further in life. You will still use the same. So
in terms of involvement and being active, that was one. And then two, there was that policy that everyone will need to do something at some point during the service itself. So I was very active in terms of the leadership in serving in the committee, but as time went on, also to participate in the program, especially in terms of preaching. But my preaching happened in a very different way, in that the first audience was the unsaved. When I was preaching at SCM, my first sermon at SCM, I had already started preaching to the outside world. At that very young age,
wow.
Teenager.
So now you are in your teenage, you are preaching. Did it ever occur to you that one day I'm going to be a pastor? Or you actually was just doing this because it's something that is in your disposal and you're thinking of a career path that you're going to follow? Maybe you want to be a businessman and...
Okay, yeah, that one I will answer it in this context. My greatest desire, when you are still a new born-again Christian,
on fire.
The greatest desire for me was for Jesus to come back. Because the way I used to enjoy church and God's presence, I was like, if Jesus could come, or if I can die, go to heaven, just be in this environment forever and ever, But in the midst of that, I was writing, answer your question, okay. I was writing an essay for my grade 7. And interestingly, I was shocked when I saw that book or that letter that has that essay still there, where the essay was, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wrote about being a pastor not because I wanted to be a pastor at that time. I wrote about it because I had exposure and knowledge of what do they do.
Okay.
Yes, because for instance, if I would write about being a nurse or about being a businessman, I was going to struggle with the content of the paragraphs, all of the paragraphs. But so I saw that, I've been exposed to a pastor. I see they do this, they do this, they do this. So I chose that essay for the content of the essay. But my greatest desire was that Jesus will come. But fast forward to that, it only came to me very strongly during my tertiary years, where I had to ask God to say, okay, God, I acknowledge this, but give me 10 years. Because you've made me to come and study, I want to go and implement what I've studied. I cannot just study and then
for mahala
and then not use that, go to ministry. But the consciousness then at tertiary level was there to say, this is the direction that God wants me to take.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing that. Because some people will be thinking, okay, just because I started preaching, then that means pastorship, it's me. I'm going into this pastoral kind of a... But like you say, you were just someone who said, okay, the consciousness is there, but you want to actually pursue certain career.
And also maybe just to add something on that one, for the benefit as well of our viewers, to say that also the calling of God is not only limited to pastoring a local church or pastoring a local church. Yes, it's very broad. I didn't want to say this was that from the organization that you are from, I believe in that philosophy to say where God places you, you are on an assignment. So even if you can go for ministerial training, you can use that training to make an impact in whatever platform and whatever place God takes you. So we should not just limit it to the pastoring of a local church. Pastoring or the calling is broader than that.
Yes. Pastoring or calling is broader than that. So your pulpit is where God places you. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
You are at a place of ministering wherever you are in your career, in your craft, in your art creativities, in your art. You are actually there to minister, to show the creativity of God and to show what God has put in you. So it's a gift as well.
Exactly.
Amen.
Yes.
So now you have grown and you are conscious about this thing that you're going to be a pastor. And so are you nurturing it up until to the point where you become?
Okay, that one in my nurturing it was not intentionally in that limited scope to say, okay, because I sense this calling in my life, I'm going to be a pastor at some point, therefore let me do 1, 2, 3 in preparation for that. My preparation was not limited to that. Preparation was being focused and strict and disciplined in all spiritual disciplines, a growth as a Christian, a growth as a child of God, a growth as a vessel that God can use. Not saying growing or developing simply because of this, but growing and developing in order to be an impactful a servant of God.
So now you are growing. You come to a point. Actually, when did you get to that point where you say, actually, let me put it back.
Yeah.
Did you come to a point where you left your career and focused on pastoral, or you actually did them in parallel?
To answer that question, yes, there was that point. There was that point where now I had to stop working and then follow the pastoral route, and then back to mixing the two again. So remember that during my late years in tertiary, I'm having that conversation with God to say, now God, give me 10 years.
Yes.
I want to go and use
what I've
learned. And then at the end of that 10 years, I'd even already forgotten that I had that discussion with God. And then, but on the 11th year, there were things that were starting to bring this memory back to say, yo, Konje, I promise God 1, 2, 3, and that 10 years is gone, And then a point came where I say, I'm going to say yes to the calling. I'm going to leave the corporate world and then go into full-time ministry.
Yeah. God does not forget our promises. That's why He says, when you make a vow, make sure that you will pay for that vow that you make. And the word again reminds us that the Holy Spirit will remind you of the things that you know. So the reminder came through the Holy Spirit to say, hey, we've made a vow, we've made a commitment to 10 years, and we have agreed. There's an agreement that was put in place between you and God. And He came back and He said, let's carry on and take on the agreement.
Exactly. And what is so interesting in that reminding the Holy Spirit, He also uses people as well. So because of my activeness in ministry, others who did not know that I'm not a pastor will start addressing me as a pastor. And also because of my activeness in the work of the Lord. Even when those events where they say, during catering time or whatever, pastors will be sitting this way, and then
the congregation
this way, and then somebody will always fetch me and say, "No, when I come and sit, when I come and sit with this."
They were seeing it,
And then also the interesting one was at work. Another guy, we were doing a project together. He was late with submitting something, so I go to his desk, he's having a beer in his hand. It was on a Friday, he's taking it easy. And then as he's finalizing the thing that he was supposed to give to me, he says to me, "Konje Mkomezulu, what is your career plan?" I tell him my career plan. He says, no. People like you don't follow that career plan. And he said, do you know that you have a calling? And people who have a calling never rise to become CEOs. So you are wasting your time with that career plan. You need to go into ministry.
You said he was having a beer in his hand. Imagine. And some of us then will reject those words. But because you knew, you know what? It reminded you of what you know. It was just a confirmation to say, hey, remember we have an agreement.
Yes.
And so you couldn't even reject it. And the Lord did not have to use someone who was saying, I'll prophesy. Somebody who's holding a beer and taking it easy in life to say, now you can hear, this is not this man who's speaking.
Not this man who's speaking.
It's something. We thank God for the Spirit of the living God who takes care of us and reminds us of what is good for us. So now you take this big task on you to say, I'm leaving corporate, I'm getting now into the pastoral office.
Yes.
How has been the journey since?
It's been a mix of both everything, but we thank the Lord for His grace in my journey there. And I was lucky because also on my way out from the corporate world, né? And then going into full-time ministry, going to study and all of those things. What happened was that in our denomination, the mother body at the head office, one of our executives, which was the general secretary, resigned, and then there was a gap there. And then the president said, "Oh, because you've got a corporate background, can you assist with maybe 3 days of your time, 3 days a week of your time to go and lead or manage the office and coordinate the office?" So even when I was doing my studies and preparation now for the training for pastoring a local church, I also continued to work 3 days a week, using now the skills that I had gained, acquired and used in the corporate world, to also use it in the setup of our denomination.
I mean, most people have got this fear of leaving work to go straight into corporate, basically because maybe of the financial need, or the leg that could come. I'm used to this kind of a salary and so forth. How did you manage that?
Okay, to navigate such fears, it also depends on the people that you are going to be ministering to. For instance, let's say in your case, you are used to a fed check, and now you are going into a full-time ministry, and then God has called you, say, for instance, to minister to the downtrodden. He's going to put you through a process where you have to experience that kind of life yourself, so that you can be able to minister to those people. So those fears are determined also by the type of people that God is calling you for. So if He's calling you for the downtrodden, for the people that are hurting, you're going to have to experience those things at some point in your life, so that you can identify with those people. Yes. Otherwise, you won't be able to relate, to say why are they going through what they're going through, and you will not be able to sympathize with them, empathize with them, and bring them up out of that environment. You might even think that people are lazy. That's why they don't have money, they are poor. Or you might think that people, they hate education, that's why they are not educated, that's why they are unemployed and not working. So once you go through those experiences, now you are able to minister properly to those people, because you've been there yourself, just to pass through those phases to get that experience that is needed.
Sure, I'm getting this. The same comfort that the Lord gives us, says, go and comfort others.
Yes.
So, which means you can't give people what you don't have.
Yes.
You must have received, you must have been through this journey, and may we not die in our situations, because you are supposed to uplift someone out there.
Yes.
With whatever that you are going through. I just want to declare strength upon those that are going through any form of suffering, any form of hurt, that you will come out, and because somebody is waiting to hear your testimony, and that you will relate with someone and carry them through their journey as you are also going through it, and you will come out of it.
You are correct in that, because all of us, we normally say it's easy to say it, but very difficult to experience it or to live it, where we say your story is your testimony.
Yes.
So if there's no story, then you won't have a testimony to minister to others too, and also others will say your mess is your message. That your message will come out of that mess. So if you don't go through the mess, you don't have the message for your audience.
Hence, he is here, and it is my truth. So, his testimony, to share his testimony. This is a place and a platform where we allow people to share their testimonies, because they went through something, a certain test, and they came out to testify.
And maybe to build on what you were saying as well to the audience, as you are encouraging the audience to say, if somebody is going through a situation right now, God has a bigger plan out of that situation. It's something that is going to be used somewhere in your journey. Yes, so allow that process for you to grow. Allow that process for you to be empowered, for you to learn, for you to be capacitated. But that situation is not there to kill you. It's there to empower you. Like we normally say that when you use a toothpaste, you have to squeeze it. Yes, it doesn't come out if you don't squeeze it. So you've got to squeeze it, and then the power of the toothpaste comes out to work on the people. So now some of these things, they bring out those things that are going to be required in ministering to the people. So be encouraged out there.
Amen. Where I just want to get into your closet, or maybe your family background, or your family at this point in time when you take this task or this journey to say, I'm leaving everything and I'm going into to the pastor's office. What was the response of those that were around you? Meaning, were there people that were depending on you? Were the family members that you were supporting that you would have to educate to say, this is what now is going to happen?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. I'll speak on the family and then speak on friends or general public. On the family side, I think it's an issue of communicating properly, and luckily enough for me, on the family side, the communication was understood. And then those outside, especially those who did not know the Lord, I remember one of the people was saying, community members that we grew up together with, he actually adored and loved the company that I was working for. He was like, no, I think you need to speak to someone. You cannot leave that environment for church. Yes. This decision is not okay. So you will have people who understand the decision, and you will have people who don't understand the decision.
But above all, you knew where you were going.
Yes.
And you had to stand your ground, regardless of who says what.
Exactly.
Wow. And not having the fear of leaving others behind, because some people can say, I don't associate with that, and just don't want to be friends with you anymore.
And also to link what you're saying now with the other question that you raised, it's when it comes to the issues of the fears about salaries and all of that. I think that fear, it gets generated. It is valid, it is there. I also had that. But with growing in the Lord and in wisdom, you get to understand to say, God is my only source. Because once you link other things and other people as your source, you're always going to be disappointed. But if you can start the journey of viewing God as your only source, and your work and other people or whatever streams of income that you have as God's channels of bringing that to you, then if He's still there, exists for you, and is the one who is calling you, that fear starts to go away, because it is God your source. But if I view my company as my source, then it's going to be difficult for me to detach from it, because it's my source. But when I view God as my source,
wherever
then it also helps. And also in ministry, it helps you now that when you view God as a source, then you don't monitor the giving of the people. You don't pay attention to say, Mpho did not tithe this month, I'm going to be angry with him. I'm not going to pray to him, I'm not going to be excited because he didn't tithe. So now, when you put it to people and companies and institutions, you will be disappointed. So it teaches you the discipline to view God as your only source.
God is our source, regardless of where we are, be it corporate, be it, for as long as you are a Christian. I think, like you're saying, we get attached to being at a place and receiving from that place where we misplace the source being God and not the company that you're working for.
Exactly.
So in terms of the time that you received, now you are free from corporate. I think corporate has got timelines 9 to 5. You don't manage certain things. After that, were you able to do more than you could have achieved maybe when you were still in corporate?
Yes, now because the scope broadens. For instance, for corporate, 9 or 8 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 9 to 5 is the American language.
8 to 5.
8 to 5. So it normally means that you are stuck in that one place. Then when you come back from work, you're tired. When you are female, you have to cook, you have to check on the kids. So all these things are good. I'm not saying they are bad. I'm just highlighting the limit in terms of the time and the flexibility to do some of the things that me personally I needed to do for my calling. Getting out of that space allowed me to be able to go to different platforms like community development, to schools, to clinics, and also to other corporates now, not only being limited to one corporate. So it allowed me to be able to do those things, and it also allows me that whenever there's an urgent need, say someone is in hospital, someone is in an accident, someone needs quick attention, then I'm able to, but the 8 to 5 is you have to wait until you knock off from work.
And you can't tell your boss, hey, member of the church is now.
Exactly. Yeah.
They need me, I have to go.
Yes.
Wow, that's the beauty of it. And God allowed you to actually now go through into that transition, so you can be available for the flock that you will be pastoring. So at this point in time, where are you pastoring? Are you in businesses?
Okay, where I am now, I'm glad that you're asking that, because it is also going to answer or address this misconception that being a pastor, it means that you've got a lot of time in your hands. You just wait for Sunday or wait for midweek prayers. My starting point to answer your question is to say that God has given us abilities, gifts and talents and skills. One of the things that we need to do is to make sure that we use all of them, because they are there for a reason. Part of the limit in terms of the corporate space, which I find for myself in particular, was that you spend more time on the skill that the company has hired you for. And then the other skills, the other gifts and the other talents that God has given to you, they remain unused, or they get used to a very little attention. They get a little attention. So where am I? I'm pastoring at Deep Proof Baptist Church in Soweto, and then I'm also involved in the leadership of Tembisa Transformation Forum. Tembisa Transformation Forum, it's a network of pastors in Tembisa and the surrounding areas with a focus of community development, where we do programs that assist to develop or impact the community in a positive way. So that's part of the leadership and also part of doing the actual work. When there's programs that need to be done. I'm also involved in Guruleni North FBO, which now it looks at different religions. It's religious leaders from different religions. So from the Christian faith, you'll have what we call Abazalwane, you'll have those from Zion, you'll have from different churches, but also you'll have beyond even Christian churches. So that is part of the program of social cohesion. Then through that as well, I got involved quite a lot, focused now in GPV activism. Yes, for the past 5 years, and the next 5 years I'm going to be looking at a different now aspect of the community life, moving away from GPV activism. Yes, and then in terms of, as you were doing the introductions, in terms of consulting, I assist small businesses with strategy, design, and also strategy implementation. So that's the part where I'm saying now I'm back also on corporate, but on part-time or on consulting basis. Yes.
And you get to control your time.
Get to control my time.
Say, I'm not available because I've got ministry at this time and this time, and so I can only come to you at this time. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Thank you very much, Pastor Mpho, for sharing with us your testimony. What an encouraging and educational. This is something that I've learned quite a lot from this session that we just had, and I hope our viewers out there, you actually got what belongs to you. You got your message, you got your encouragement, and so I just want to encourage you to subscribe on our YouTube channel, My Truth with Lindy Cherise, and on our podcast, it is My Truth with Mpho and Lindy. And also, if you have anything that you would like to share, any testimony, or maybe you've got a question, you can email us on our email address, which is it is mytruthpodcast@gmail.com. We are available for you, and remember, your story can help somebody out there, can encourage somebody out there, and can actually give strength to somebody, because we relate one way or the other. Have a blessed one. One last thing that you can say, Pastor, to somebody out there. One last motivation, or be it a word that you want to give right now to our viewers.
The word that I'd like to give right now to the viewers is the one that I've been meditating upon for the past 2 weeks. That is in my spirit, very strong in my spirit, is that your future is hidden in moments. Yes, that every moment you must take it serious. Every moment you must get into it fully, because as you unwrap it, you'll never know what you will find out of that. So never take any moment for granted. Thank you.
Never take any moment for granted. With those words, we just want to say thank you for coming to It Is My Truth podcast. Thank you very much.